What's up, guys? Welcome to the Intentional Creator Podcast. This is episode 11.
I think we're on 13 now.
13?
Yeah, we're getting up there.
13. Today, we've been really thinking about content creation and the trap of it. The trap of content creation. So
the influencer trap. I feel like, you know that movie, The Parent Trap? We can make an influencer version.
You literally could.
That'd be so funny.
And kind of navigating the pressure to be constantly creating something that's going to go off and get viral so you can, get famous and live the life. And just the relationship of what content creation as a job has brought to the table for everybody, right? There's this window into this perfect world, quote unquote, where you get to do content creation and travel and just live and do really cool things. And that's the track that Dean and I were on back in the day and we're kind of playing with. And there's something, as we've gotten older, we've really recognized that there's pros and cons. There's pros and cons to everything, and there's pros and cons to this life as well. And just like what it is and where you're coming from when you approach it is really important.
Especially nowadays where, like you said, there's so much pressure. Like, I feel like social pressure, literally from social media, but just like the world in general, how people have seen how quote unquote easy it is to be an influencer, and you can just record your life and do your thing and get people to watch you and make money and just live the perfect life you want to, which in an ideal world, yes, you can. Like, there's a lot of people that are doing that and have done that, and that's why it's so attractive. But I think for the large majority of people, that's not super realistic. And even if they do try to do that, they might be hindering or impacting their own real life experience because they don't have the intention, the why behind what they're doing. They just want to do it because they think that that's the cool thing to do and everyone can do it. So if that person can do it, that's shaking their ass on TikTok. Why can't I do that and get $1 million?
Yeah. And grabbing for the attention and grabbing for the kind of the money, all the things that kind of come with that attention. And like grabbing after that because it's the life we all want to live, and it has a sense of power and and a lot of connection, a lot of money.
Well, it's actually tapping into a very primal part of us, which is the ego as well.
Yep, it's tapping into that. It's really tapping into that like self-identity space of like really getting invested in that part of yourself. And I think that's why this conversation is so relevant and why the Intentional Creator has even come about, is because, as we've been growing through our own lives and through the different things that we've gone through, we've recognized that there's parts of ourselves that, aren't solved because we're content creators. There's not fixed because we are doing something that is cool and gives us yada 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 yada. There's still a lot of stuff that we have to navigate and work within ourselves and move through. And again, I think that's why this conversation and this podcast was so that we could be a little bit more intentional with the balance of being a content creator and living your own personal life and enjoying your own personal experience. And so, I guess that would be the first, like, pros and cons of it. What are the pros and cons? What are the kind of sides of it? What are the parts of it that aren't all it's hyped up to be, basically? Like,
I guess let's just speak from our own experience. Like, I guess I'll go first. Like, obviously, I also jumped on the content creator, influencer kind of train and try to do that whole thing. And I guess to some extent I still am. But especially in the earlier days, it was very attractive where it seemed like that life that you could just travel the world and take cool photos and videos and get paid to do that by brands. And so I guess, let's start with the cons. The pros rather. The pros were you got to just be a creative and do what you wanted to do. You get to travel, you get to meet really cool people. Brand deals were awesome. You get to make money for doing the things that you want to do just by like including really cool a product or speaking about a product. Get to meet super cool people. Yeah, basically, you just get to work on your own terms and set your own schedule. That was all so amazing. That's something I still hold on to, and something I still do and value so much is freedom. Like, that's one of my highest values is freedom. The ability to do whatever I want when I want to do that, I hold above almost anything. And I think being a content creator, being an influencer gives you that life and that freedom. Not that it's easy. You still have to be structured within that and be your own boss, essentially. That's like being any self-employed person. But it is super cool to have that freedom. And I think that's why it was so attractive to me to try and pursue this lifestyle. And for about 2 years, I would say that was my full-time income and full-time thing, was being a content creator. Now I kind of let that slip a little bit, and it just fizzled away because I wasn't secure on my why. We've spoken about this in other episodes. And so I let that career slip because I wasn't passionate about it anymore. Like, I still do it, but it's definitely nowhere near my full-time income anymore. I'm now more so on like video production and video editing for other people. That's making me my full-time income. But yeah, hoping to get back to the point where content creation can be my full-time income again, but with the why, with the intention, and doing it properly, and like with a lot of passion behind it. Like, even this, what we're doing right now, like, I truly believe that this can go into something much bigger and really serve us from a creative point of view, from a freedom point of view, and a financial point of view. So I think like all of those things will come back even stronger with the why, and it'll be even more even more intentional.
And I think that's why, again, the why is so important. And I think that's because, like you said in there, it was really it's a question of values in a way. Like, where is your value? Where are you placing your value? And and do you know your value enough to know what you're creating and what you're building? You know, are you putting your value in attention and getting a dopamine rush of a certain number of whatever's coming to you, followers, likes, money, whatever? Or is your value in something of a deeper quality? And it's cool because the content creation is just a tool. Content is just a tool. Instagram is just a tool. You can use it how you wield it. So in the sense of, like, you know, as you and I are reorienting how we're approaching all this, we're coming back to the same thing, but from a different place of like how we're approaching it and how we're like wielding the tool that it is. And I think that's like, it's that question of value. The value is different now. The value, where it's coming from within us, is a different place. And content creation all of a sudden now can become a healthier relationship and a healthy thing to approach and to work with, because it's coming from a place that's centered within ourselves, versus the excitement of the things that come with the freedom, which is, I also think, something that's what's attractive to most people about it. And I think that's what's attractive to a lot of everybody who kind of chases that pathway, is the freedom of what it can bring you, the freedom of travel, the freedom of, you know, and all those sorts of things.
What were the pros for you specifically while you were doing the whole YouTube thing and traveling the world?
The pros for me, really for me were in the connection part. I was really riding the wave of getting to connect with people, getting to like make good friends. I always kind of ride that wave, but that was a huge pro.
I also think, sorry to cut you off, but I think having that number and that like status, almost like you said earlier, where it's like a power status thing, even still today, like just by me having 30K on Instagram and 120K on YouTube, like I know if I send a DM to somebody, they're going to take me so much more seriously than if I just had 500 followers. Or like if I tag an account on my story, like I know that they'll see it and like actually pay attention to me.
When I've noticed the opposite, so in the sense of like when my Instagram got hacked and I lost it, I started to really recognize over the years that followed, I was like, wow, people don't look at you the same. People don't look at me the same. Like they check the Instagram, it's like only got 800 followers, and they don't look at me the same way as they used to. And I'm not noting that from an angry point of view. It's just an observation. It's just like, that's really interesting to see how powerful this number and these numbers have gotten in the sense of how we view each other in society and how we approach each other and how we connect with people and whether or not somebody will be of value, and quote unquote, in your field.
It's crazy how that digital number translates to real life connection and the way people treat you. And like that's a Black Mirror episode.
That really is. But it's like something we're all living in, and it's like, you know, it is what it is. It's totally part of the thing. And I've noticed even in the community that I'm in Boulder, like there's so much of that at play in how I shoot and how I connect with people, and you know, because I'm still doing the content creation, I'm still doing photography and stuff like that, and it's really alive. And I think that would be the con, right? I think that would be a con of the content creation back in the day, and still content creation today. It's just a con in general, is the fact that it shifts. It's like almost like you're not meeting the person
as a human fully. It takes the humanity away. Yeah. Take me as
me right here in the present moment with you, not what you're gonna find out of me. And that's just part of the game that it is, and that's not gonna go.
Kind of like how when I met Casey Neistat for the first time. That was such a like out of body, out of world experience. But I met him and like in his studio, he was busy live streaming as well, so I couldn't really like talk to him. But he spoke to me for like, I don't know, 30 seconds on the live stream, and that was pretty cool.
That's so funny. I forgot you met him.
Yeah, me too. I also forget sometimes. And that I was like in his studio. Also, way smaller than it seems on camera, because he uses wide-angle lenses, obviously, and it was
those wide-angle lenses. Yeah, it's tiny. That's crazy.
It was tiny. Yeah, every place in New York is tiny, but
yeah. Anyway, I mean that's why it's designed the way it is. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah. So just meeting him, and I was like so excitedly nervous before I met him, just because I obviously held him in such high regard and like had this picture build up in my mind. And then I met him and like saw him in person, and I'm like, oh, he's just another person. Like he's just a dude right there doing his thing, creating.
Yeah, like I'd see him at Subway.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think we forget that with. I think social media distorts that, and TV, like all media, kind of distorts that with people, and we forget that people are just people.
Yep.
What would be some of the other cons for you while you were really pursuing it? I guess even still now, or just in general of the influencer lifestyle.
I think a big con is the motivational factor that distracts you. So the motivational factor of the fact that you could become famous and you could live a really awesome lifestyle and go travel and do all this sort of stuff, which is like the distracting point that pulls you away from maybe the thing that you are designed to do or want or should do or should pursue artistically, because that's who you are, and into something that's not necessarily as cohesive to yourself, because it's going to give you more views or clout or whatever, and you've only got 90 seconds, or there's all these limitations that come with content creation, in the sense of like letting yourself out. You have to kind of go through these filters and kind of create this script to get it out the right way. And I think that was always a big con for me. I think that was why I always was 3 steps behind in the sense of where you guys were at growth wise, because I was really struggling with that relationship of like, this is how I create though. Like there's something here that I've got to play with, that I've got to just sit in, that I can't push past, because there's something that's, I don't know, I could never explain it, can't explain it really, but there's something about how I create that's just, I guess it's just my artistic style that wanted to figure itself out. And I always had that battle between the two of like, I'm going to do it the nice, vloggy, cinematic way that I need to do to get the views and stuff. Yeah.
Or
and get the right gear myself. And all the get the right stuff, versus this part of me that was just kind of like, I don't really care about all that. I'm actually just here to experience the moment and want to capture that when it happens, because that's always been my style. I look back and see now, like that's always just how I've shot and how I've shown up. And so I think that's my personal experience with the whole broad experience of you have to change your style, kind of. Not you gotta change it, but you gotta have to work with your style in a certain way for the content. And I think that's a big con and a huge part of why this conversation is super alive with me, because I'm navigating that still.
Yeah, I think you always feel like you're playing catch up, and I feel the same way. You always feel like you're playing catch up to the trend and like to what's working. It doesn't even have to be something visually, like a visual style necessarily. It's just like what is working, what is performing, what is trending. And it's like, okay, how do I fit my work into that? And then you lose touch with your own artistic expression and own uniqueness because you're trying to latch onto something that is working so it can propel you further so you can do the thing that you want to do. It's like a very backwards system.
I feel like even Reels is a great example of this. Like Instagram Reels for everybody feels like such a weird way to create content for me. It feels so short form and so like worthless almost.
It feels very forced to me.
And it feels really forced and feels really like you have to do this because it's going to just get in the scroll. Like, it's like I'm feeding the whole thing, the addictiveness that none of us want to be a part of, you know what I mean? And I don't like that.
Yeah, I've actually rethought my strategy to approaching Instagram and short form content. Because for a while I was pushing it quite a bit and like wanting to post consistently on short form. And like I do, for the most part, I don't think it's healthy, but I do think that there can be value in it. It's just
I think totally there can be value in it.
But for me, I was like, it was probably like a month ago, and I had planned to do a reel every single day on like a different topic and like provide a lot of value and do stuff. And I like made this whole plan, and I just stopped myself and I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, I don't like consuming short form content. I don't like watching it. I don't think it's necessarily healthy for people. Yes, this content will have value, but why am I doing this? And I stopped myself and I'm like, oh, I'm actually just doing this to try and like boost my numbers and views.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's like I don't really care to do it. I much more prefer to make longer form content that has story, that has meaning, that has conversation. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to put as much focus and attention on Instagram because it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't align with my why as much as making stories on YouTube.
Yeah. And I think that's something that I'm in the process actually of adjusting, because I was thinking about that last night when I was going to shoot that show. And this is a little bit of, reminding myself that content doesn't need to come out in that way. And I'm not even doing it for money. Like, I have multiple other jobs. Yeah. There's no reason I need to be pushing the way I'm pushing in the content form that I'm pushing. You know what I mean? Not to say that I don't want to develop those skills. I do, but reorienting and coming back to YouTube. Looking at the why, like real life example, you know, we're still working with being an intentional creator and still working with my why and still working with where it's coming from. Like, you know, these questions are alive in me right now, and I'm having to reorient kind of how I'm focusing my camera and focusing my eye and focusing my intuition.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably a big con that is alive still and was alive then, is just that battle between how do you create content and what story are you telling and how the content and algorithm system affects that.
Well, it's art versus product, because the algorithm, the social media landscape is all about product. It's about creating this thing that's perfectly created to serve a certain purpose, which like is good as well and can be fine. And but in that you lose the artistic expression, because in order to perform and keep up with the algorithm and grow your audience, you need to be consistent in providing a product and providing value. And if you're just doing your artistic thing, like I was doing with YouTube a couple of months ago, where you're doing whatever you want all over the place, it's not as conducive to the growth of being and the sustainability of being a content creator.
Right. And I think that is that's really personal work, honestly, to navigate that space and to figure out how to stay rooted in the creation. Because I'm really trying to remind myself to stay rooted in who you are and what you create.
Well, it's like what you said earlier. It's about your values, actually.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. What am
I actually focused on? And what am I focused on with my values? Yeah, exactly. And so I've been really trying to even push still. I'm posting more reels and doing more things with reels, but I'm trying to reorient my mind and still navigate just that documentative, I'm experiencing life and I'm sharing my experience style coming through my reels. And I'm really navigating that with the battle of being consistent and with the battle of trying to navigate how to grow still a little bit and use it as a business and all those sorts of things.
It's a tough balance. Yeah, it's really difficult.
I can't think of any other cons right now off the top of my head. I mean, I think that one is the root of kind of my relationship to social media and content creation, and why I've gotten into this conversation of artistic development.
I think some of the other cons that come with it, as someone that has done this as a full-time job at one point, is that just and this is the same as being self-employed, like, the instability that can come with it. Like, people think it's just glamorous lifestyle, but you're putting in a lot of work and effort and like time off the screen and off doing the thing that you want to do to make this work. Like, it would be so much easier for me to get a 9-to-5 job. I could make so much more money than doing what I'm doing right now. Honestly.
And simpler. It's so much simpler.
If somebody just told me what to do every day and I got paid to do that, cool. But that's not the life I want. I don't get the freedom I want. And so, it's tough having to find clients, having to wait for people to pay you.
That's a great point.
60, 70, 80 days later, to constantly find people to work with, to come up with new ideas and new stories. And like, that's fun. That's all part of the job as well. But it's not as simple as Jay Alvarez makes it out to be. All these like travel influencers. Like, they make it look so easy on camera, but there's a lot of work that goes into it behind the scenes that most people don't see. And they just take what they see as face value as the job. And it's
and social media is designed to make it seem like it's all face value. Like it's designed to make it seem like it's all just chill and whatever, rah. But really, it's just like a business. Like you said, it's just like being an entrepreneur. Every single influencer who's done it, for the most part, I guess I shouldn't say every single influencer. Most people have put in years of work to do what they're doing and get where they're gotten. You know?
Well, if they're doing it sustainably and consistently, yes. Because like, you get the people that blow up, but they won't sustain it because they don't know how to do it. Like, if you blow up from one video after you've posted 10 videos, you don't even know who you are as a creative yet, as a creator.
Which is why that's needed, and which is why that conversation, like that relationship to that, is so important. Is because you're actually navigating. It's the same thing we're doing with this podcast in a lot of ways. Like, we're trying to figure out, not that we don't have a sense of what we're talking about, but we're talking through it. We're working through the lines. We're working through all the kind of things that want to come out and want to be expressed and want to be heard, that we're learning the whole time of like what's going on. So,
and it's almost nice having the slower build up as well, because then you aren't growing under pressure. You aren't creating under pressure. Because like, imagine our second episode blew up and we still like don't know what we're doing. I'm recording this on my phone right now in a very echoey room, and like that wouldn't cut the quality of a million subscriber podcast quality, I mean, it could, but that's the point is that like we would have to like get stuff together under pressure really quickly, probably because that's what people would expect from a million subscriber podcast.
And it would be too much pressure, and it would probably I don't think it would, but it would have a lot more strain and
to try and be perfect and get it right
off the bat.
Whereas now we can just like chat and let it evolve and flow and grow exactly how it wants to grow.
And again, that's the reframe. That's the reframe from it going from a reactionary app to a tool that you can use.
It's a tool for growth.
It's a tool for growth. And it really is. And especially, this is actually a really funny, this is kind of going off tangent a little bit, but especially the way the algorithm is reoriented now and the way it's set up now, there's so little ability to stay... I shouldn't say so little, but there's a lot less ability to stay really groundedly connected to your people on Instagram, because there's so much filtering through and so much algorithmic stuff.
And they're showing you stuff you aren't even following.
They're not even following. And it's like, do you want to follow this account? Because it sucked you in.
They're really breaking up community on Instagram.
They're using it as a way, as a strategy to break up community. And the funny thing about that is the fact that and this is really what I've worked for and figured out, it's like, I've just reoriented it to where it's like, now it's just me on Instagram. Pretty much nobody else is on Instagram for me. In the sense of like, I see all the people, I follow people, I'm intentional and try to be intentional with kind of the content I curate and stuff and put out. But it's my relationship with myself and my artistic energy. That's the only thing happening on Instagram now for me. Because there's so much going on and there's so much happening, and there's almost just, you're getting so much coming at you through, especially the search page, is just like crazy stuff. And so I think that's a really important way to reframe it in your mind. And now I'm trying to figure out how we're coming back to the... but I think that's using it as a tool of self-realization is what you were saying. Like using it as that tool.
A tool for discovery of your own creativity and your own values, your own self.
And deepening your relationship with all those values. I kind of think it as the Martian with Matt Damon, that movie that came out a couple years ago.
I actually haven't seen that one.
You would like it. Well, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it's good. It's a good movie. I probably would. He's stuck on Mars and has no way down. He just does these like daily vlogs basically, but like in a survival situation. But in a way, I'm like, that's funny. I'm just like out on my channel, sending out my doc of the day. You know what I mean?
That's funny. Have you watched The Arrival?
No, I actually haven't seen that one.
You gotta see that funny one. That one's really cool. We gotta do a film swap. The Arrival's super cool. It's about this alien species that lands on Earth for like the first time ever, obviously, and this team comes out like part of the US government, whatever, and they're the first team to try and communicate with the aliens. Wow. And this one, like the lead character, basically like figures out how to do it. But it's such a beautiful film, and like she manages to actually communicate with them.
Yeah. I remember that coming out, and I don't know why I didn't go see it. I think it was because what's that actor girl's name? I don't really like her. I don't know why. Anyways, off track.
Anyways,
yes, the question of values and using it as a place to hold value, and how can you use it as a place to grow still? You're not thinking about it anymore as a place you're maybe finding super deep connection. Like go find that in real life. Be intentional about that in real life. Use it as a place to kind of self-realize yourself and push into it's funny, like push into your niche, push into what you're excited about, push into what you're interested in, and focus on that on Instagram, like that, in the sense of that's the content creation style. If it wants consistency, focus on your niche. Breathwork for me, using it as a tool to actually help me stay in my breathwork practice to continue to pump that out there. And eventually, who knows, like that could turn into something where I'm helping to like facilitate breathwork events or like helping people learn how to breathe correct. You know what I mean? Like it could turn into something. So finding a way to alchemize it and turn it into a tool, instead of a reactionary suck of your focus.
Yeah, I think sticking with the pros theme, the pros and cons theme, I think another con with everyone trying to be a content creator and influencer now is that there's so much competition. There's like we were speaking earlier, there's just so much busyness on the platform, and it's like everyone's trying to fight and grab for attention, like every little bit of it that they can. And so it's a lot more difficult to establish yourself and be a successful creator on social media nowadays, as opposed to starting up even just 5 years ago, 10 years ago. If you started 15 years ago, you didn't even have to be that good. If you were consistent and you were doing your thing, you probably would have succeeded and had hundreds of thousands of followers right now. Whereas now, even like there's some people I follow that are so brilliant, such amazing creatives, that'll have I found a guy on YouTube the other day. His name is Rue Smith, and he makes tutorials basically on adventure filmmaking. Like he makes adventure documentaries. He has 2,000 subscribers, and I'm like, this dude is making like masterclass level films and content, like telling you exactly how he makes a ski film or a rock climbing film. I'm like, how does this only have 200 views? This is crazy. And it's just because the competition is so high nowadays that like people are posting stuff and it just gets lost into the abyss of the internet. And that kind of sucks, like if you put so much effort in and then no one sees it. And like I think we kind of spoke about that in the last episode maybe. So yeah, just the competition is higher than ever. So I think that emphasizes why you need to be so intentional about what you're making, because if you aren't, you're just going to get lost.
And in a way, you're actually stepping out of the competition. You're literally just being like, you know what? I'm not going to play this game. I'm not going to play this game. I'm not going to do all this. And it's exactly how I feel with my photography. It's exactly how this feels with this podcast, where we're just like, okay, we're just doing our thing.
Yeah.
we're just having this conversation. We're just engaging at this level, and there is no pressure for us to, because it's self-inflicted. The pressure is self-inflicted either way.
Yeah.
And so kind of stepping out and reorienting yourself and your perspective of how you're showing up and where you're coming from with it is important to actually have a relationship with it, because then all of a sudden you can have a relationship with your art, with your creativity, and with what you want to produce and what you want to create, versus this pressurized, oh my gosh, like I've been working so much this week, but I need to get more content out.
Yeah.
You know?
I also think the motivation for us with this podcast is coming from within, like from within both of us, but also like we're holding each other accountable to doing this thing.
Yes.
Like at the beginning, like I'll send you a message, be like, oh, what's your schedule like? And then you'll send a message like, oh, I want to chat today. And it's just nice to have the accountability where the fire is coming from within inside. We're not necessarily like chasing anything. And like, for me, I love these conversations because it's like we said in one of the other episodes, it's like creative therapy. It's just talking about what's going on in our creative journeys right now. And I'm just hanging out with my friend and talking to you and like having these cool conversations and figuring out my own creative shit. And like, if people listen to that, that's awesome. And people get value out of it. That's super cool. But it's not motivated by...
At the end of the day...
listening, really.
We're just having coffee.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, and then the pro to that same point, actually, of how there's so much more people trying to be content creators, is that there's so much more people creating and trying out new creative expressions for the first time in your life. And that's awesome to see more people creating, more people putting themselves out there, having more confidence, trying out new things, exploring themselves. And like you said, using it as a tool to explore yourself. And that can be in any form. It doesn't have to be just photo or video, like people doing their dance things, or people speaking about their mental health, or people speaking about politics, like whatever it is, like people are expressing themselves more, which I think is healthy.
I think it's super needed. Yeah, I think it's healthy, and I think it's super needed. I think there's so much pressure in the global space right now. Yeah. And that, like, I don't know how to solve it all individually. It's so big, you know what I mean? There's just so much going on, and, like, the creation is kind of my way of staying focused and creating through it all, and still bringing my light and still bringing what I have to offer in a beautiful way to the world and helping to contribute in that way. And I think the more of us who can get tapped into that, and the more of us who can like find that rhythm and find that flow, we can work with the current. We can work with the current of where things are heading and how things are being approached and how things are being engaged. And I think that that's super important. And I think that that starts from your relationship with your own creative expression and process, and with your relationship with yourself. And I think that that's again, like you're saying, a beautiful pro to the fact that there's so much content out there. Actually,
and you can get inspired by so many different people. Sorry, literally. Well, yeah, and you can just get inspired by so many different people and different perspectives and different stories and like different ways of seeing the world that we could, like, imagine 100 years ago where the only media you consumed was from TV or newspaper, and that was the only perspective you got. And like even within the TV, there might have been, I don't know, 5-10 different shows, whatever, but that's only 10 different directors that you're seeing their perspective. Whereas now, like, you can see perspectives of thousands of people a day, which I don't know if that's also a good thing or not, because like we aren't really designed to do that.
It's a balance, but yeah, yes, it's a great thing.
It is so cool how you can see. I can see someone in Cape Town like doing their thing and creating the way they want to create and see the world, and like you wouldn't be able to do that even 20 years ago.
No, it's really beautiful, and it's a cool way to like. It's moved past tribal relationships. It is now, it really truly feels, I mean, there's so much there, but it really truly feels through the internet and through social media specifically, it truly feels like a global connection. I can connect with anybody anywhere, all over the world at any time, basically. Obviously language, there's still so much that involved in that, but at the end of the day, I could, if I wanted to. I could figure it out.
Which is cool. Like,
I also do
think that the tribal connection is still very important, though, and like having 100%. In real life community and connection and people you can create with.
Essential.
Like, it's the balance again.
It's the balance of it. Yeah, and I think I say that to just say, like, in a sense of like, this has never happened before in our recorded human history. the ability to be this connected and this interconnected. And I hold both sides of that. There is so much wrong with that, and there is so much amazing and beautiful with that.
Right?
Like, and it's kind of just sitting with that and just being like, wow, like that's crazy that we get to experience that, and we get to kind of be in a place where we can feel that connection all over the world. Because that's how we met. Like, we wouldn't know each other at all.
Yeah, you were from Nashville, Tennessee, and I was in Cape Town, South Africa. Like
what? How did that happen? Yeah, exactly.
It is super cool. And again, like you were saying earlier, it's a tool. So if you use the tool properly and intentionally and mindfully, then it can be so beautiful. If not, then that's where you get anxiety and depression and isolation, because you feel like it's all overwhelming and too much, and you just get lost in it. So it's like living in a city, honestly. That was my experience of living in New York.
Yeah, that's true. It is like living in a city. There's just so much going on all the time, and if you're not intentional with your boundaries around your focus, you're gonna get lost in it. And I think the other thing that I was just thinking about was you were saying that, and is like, use it to connect to people you find you like resonate with. Mm-hmm. Like, what stories do you connect to? What people do you like enjoy? What art do you connect with? Like, you know, you're connecting with your resonant points, and you're deepening your relationship with what you like and what you don't like, and finding these connections, like in the sense of like, I love using Instagram as a way to just send DMs to people and just be like, yo, I really like your photography style, like let's hang out, let's go shoot, let's go get like be in the physical world with each other and connect, because whatever you're doing on your page is really beautiful and I like it. Like, so using the content creator, the influencer, quote unquote, blah blah, content creator, the creator
as a
role,
tool for connection.
Like, go connect with people in real life. Like, go see what's up with somebody's process. Like, figure out how they're doing their thing, what they're doing, what kind of vibe they're on, how they think. Get engaged with people. I mean, that's exactly the same thing. It's this thing that's happening here, where we're just like deepening into this like cool connective resonance point that both you and I have. That's like continues to be so deep and so beautiful, and just like a wellspring of like great conversations and great ways to like chat and keep up with each other. So it's like using it's reframing it, because it's
reframing
so demonized.
what social media and content creation is. Like, reframing it to a tool, reframing it to a tool for connection, reframing it as like what you are putting out there and using it for. Like, it's not for the ego, but for the process.
Right.
And that's exactly what you're doing nowadays. I mean, I feel like I'm starting to do that more so now, and explore, using it as a tool to explore myself.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I don't rely on it as a money maker, actually. Yeah,
that is
it's like I intentionally am like keeping, I mean, I kind of could now, but I like am intentionally trying to not do that. I'm like, I'd rather work the 9 to work other skills that I can go learn that are important and are needed for me, like landscaping and gardening. I feel like are really valuable skills, and learn, you know, using work as a way to learn other skills, and then using the content creation as just a way to really just deepen into relationship and connection, and helping to pull more people into creation, and how can we express ourselves more, and how can I express myself more, that kind of thing, and using it as that kind of tool.
And then it takes the pressure off you needing to make money from it as well, and like creating a specific way and consistently, and like the style, whatever it is. Because,
and I know that like as I consistently do it, I'll find a style, which I've been finding. Like the past few years, I've definitely noticed. I'm like, okay, I'm definitely understanding how I show up creatively more and more and more. Yeah. And I can actually start to hone it and start to focus it, but it's in alignment with me. Like, it's actually part of like, okay, this is actually really, I love this, and there's no resistance in me for how I'm creating, even if I'm creating consistently. I'm putting out so much content right now, it's crazy. Like, I pump so much through my stories, and I pumped so much through my like video and photo stuff. It's like, or mostly photo, but some video stuff. It's crazy right now. I feel like I'm putting out the most content I've ever put out before, but I'm doing it from this place of just like, it's just like, it's all just flowing out of me.
And there's no resistance to it.
There's no resistance to it. It's just happening.
Yeah. You're hitting that flow state, which is so nice, where you aren't like thinking about it as much. You're just like, this resonates with me, I'm putting it out there. Right. And that's beautiful. Yeah. I'm still struggling with that, because like I think I'm definitely like a bit more curated than you. Like
Sure.
I plan things out and like
Most people are.
strategically like post things. I know, and like I'm still also trying to like work on being more, putting things out more consistently and more freely. But again, it's still that balance as well. So
yeah, it's a balance in its relationship, and it's also, you know, that's it's part of it is just that's just how I am. I'm a little bit more like street with how I just show up even in my life, you know what I mean? And I've really learned to embrace that and not to resist that. You know, like I'll go wash my clothes at the laundromat down the street, you know what I mean? I'll live out of my van for 4 or 5 months in a really stupid, ratchet, rough situation or whatever, because it's just going to save me, you know what I mean? Like that's just a little bit more of like how I am. And I'm working with that. There's a lot of stuff that I'm learning from that, and like, okay, that's a great thing. That's not a great thing about that, you know? But I think it's, again, developing a relationship with you and your process, and like what, not like you specifically, but just in general, like just developing that relationship and figuring it out. And I think that to do that, putting more content out from an aligned flow
and
place,
keep creating
and
keep
creating.
expressing.
Right. Do something. Right. Do put it to the table. Like push through those resistant muscles and let that creativity come through.
I've been noticing you actually have been writing a bit more as well. Like I saw you've been posting threads on your story again.
Yeah.
Even
it's so crazy, dude, because it's like I feel like everything's coming online in a lot of ways right now. Like I'm talking. This is a part of creativity that I never tapped into back in the day, but I love it. Yeah. Not talking like I was vlogging, but talking in the sense about ideas.
It's an audio format. Yeah.
Audio format kind of thing. And then I'm hanging out with mostly musicians, and I think this is a different podcast, but an interesting connection point. I think musicians are actually more tapped into the intentional creator role than filmmakers.
I would agree with that, actually. Yeah.
They're really tapped into where they're coming from, what they're saying, where their emotions are at, what they're trying to express, what's coming out of them, more so than filmmakers are.
Yeah, well, that's the music making process. I think just is more emotional in a way.
And so like even the other day, I was over at a buddy's house, and we had just done a shoot, and they're all rappers, and they started putting beats down in the kitchen. We were making tacos, and they started putting beats down, and they just all started rapping and just talking and just going and just talk. But it was cool because I was watching them. I was like, whoa, they're just talking about their life. They're talking about their day. They're talking about like what they're moving through, what they're working with. Man, I just got fired from this job. Don't know what I'm going to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're just talking about what's happening for themselves.
That's such a different way of creating than we create.
Exactly. It's a much different, more like present way of showing up. So I feel like I've really been learning a lot from them, and I can't wait to have some more musicians on and have like a million on and Micah and
that'd be cool.
And, you know, engage in that conversation. Learning and navigating and opening to different forms of creativity and then merging it into your own. Again, is a pro. It's a pro of the whole situation because there's so much content, there's so much creativity out there. You can connect with anybody, and you can figure out how you guys can blend and how you guys can work together and how you guys can create something from both of your art forms merging.
What's it like writing again or posting on Threads? Because I've never been into like Twitter or even Threads. Basically the same thing now.
I've always written.
You actually did it for a while, then you stopped. I think we might have spoken about this in like the first or second episode, where you like pulled back from it.
Well, it's funny because I'm realizing that I was forcing it when I first started posting on Threads, and when it first came out. It was because it came out. Yeah, it was because it had just come out. And so I was just on there because I was like, well, maybe, you know, things could pop off here or whatever, and let me just post out some stuff. But I was forcing it, and so the words weren't coming out the right way. The words weren't happening the right way. I didn't know how to formulate and funnel my thoughts. I have so many ideas and so many thoughts. It's overwhelming, and I don't, like, a lot of times I'll literally have a thought, and if I don't have something to write it down, I'm just like, well, I love you, I'm gonna miss you, and like I let you go, like I'm less like goodbye. Not to say that I don't, the important ones I'm not focused on, the important things I'm not focused on, but to say like there's just so much happening. So anyways, now I'm realizing, and the reason why it's kind of coming out of me now is just because I'm like allowing that to be a funnel, allowing that to be a place where I can just like let process out.
I'm just having a thought now where I also have so many ideas and so many things going on, and I write them down either in my notebook or on my notes app, and I'm like, what if I just changed that to instead of writing it down privately in my notes, literally just write it down on Reels as on Threads, as that is my notes app. Like that might be a pretty cool way to do it, because I didn't really care about like the building of that social media as much.
I'm not getting any likes, but it's a super nice funnel for me to just have a place to kind of throw out some ideas and throw out concepts and throw out
maybe I'll try
different ideas. And so it's like, well, I mean, it's just again, it's just a way of an outlet. How can I continue to find ways and outlets of flow so I don't have to actually have any resistance, and I can keep track of where my mind's at, what I'm kind of growing through.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think that I also was inspired. I was also super inspired the other night when I was with the homies who were all rapping. I was like, man, like it'd be kind of cool to just like, I know how to write. I'm a good writer. I just need to focus it a little more and get a little more frame and structure going down. But like, I could write some lyrics and send them over to the dudes, and like they could use the lyrics to create and stuff. Like that'd be kind of crazy.
Join the rap party with my one rap song.
yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like whatever. Like, not to say that I want to rap necessarily.
No, I know what you mean.
But you know, I could facilitate and help with the writing process, and I love to be part of that process, and I love to think about those ideas. That's the thing. I love the value is actually in, oh man, I love to process my own life too. How could I write out and process, you know, So merging and trying to, and letting your creativity like go out of this, the 9 to 5, the 9 to 5 trap has still gotten us so trapped in this, like, I'm a photographer.
You're this one thing.
And that's all I ever do, you know what I mean? Or like, you know, I'm a singer or whatever, you know what I mean?
Locking yourself into a certain identity. And like humans are so much more than
so
one
much.
thing.
Like play with it. Like what else could you do? What else are you good at? What else do you like? What else are you interested in? Social media is a way to express and to find that channel. Yeah. Let it out. Let it come through. You know what I mean? Like refine that art stuff. So there's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons, but I think if it's about the approach and how your mind's like focused on it and the values of where you're coming from.
Put that in a rap. That was bars.
That was bars. Let's go, dude. Yeah, it's coming through. Let's go.
No, this has been a super good conversation. What are we at right now? Almost 50 minutes.
I know, we're at I feel like we could wrap it up.
Yeah, and then wrap it up. Get it.
Wrap it up. Move through the comfort. I get too in my head still. I get too like insecure stuff. I'm still working on it. Got a ways to go.
One thing that came up during this podcast for me was, do you know the Instagram account called Influences in the Wild?
I think I've heard it before and seen it, but I don't follow it.
Yeah, I don't follow it either, but I've seen it before. I think we should do an episode on that. That would be fun.
That would be really fun.
Even if it's just us like reviewing the footage, dude, that would be cool actually.
You know
like an
Codico?
YouTube video. Yeah,
we could do like what Codico does.
Yeah,
he just like watches stuff on YouTube and stuff, and then just like laughs at it.
That would be sick.
That'd be so fun.
Let's actually plan that. That would be fun.
Yeah, let's do that. I'd be super down.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds fun.
I think we could also do that with like books. You know, I need to read The War of Art, and then we could talk about it.
Yes, you do.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's such a good book. It's an easy read as well.
And it's like intentional creativity to its core. Like it's the, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's all.
You actually could. I read it in like 3 days.
It's really short, isn't it? Yeah. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's one of the best creative books I've ever read, honestly. So anyone listening to that, go read that book.
Sweet.
Yeah, that could be in a whole episode as well. I actually wanted to make a YouTube video about that before I like started focusing more on outdoor adventure stuff, but that would fit so perfectly into this channel actually.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll
it would be great
content.
Just throw it up on the YouTube channel and you know we could really make that. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. Oh, now I'm feeling super motivated to make that video, but I'm not at home right now, so next week.
Well, I'll read it real quick this weekend hopefully, and then or listen to it or something, and we can just chat about it. All right, guys. Thanks for listening.
Cool.
Comment, send, I don't know, talk to your friends, send it to your friends. Are you guys chatting about this? Are you all talking about this? You know, use it as a tool, use it as a network. This is a conversation. Share it. Also, like, comment, subscribe, get it in the algorithm. We want to use the algorithm. It's a tool. Let's get this message out there. Let's use this message to help inspire more of us and to spread the message of creativity. We need it.
All the links will be down below. What have you got going on this week? I know you shot a concert yesterday, but do you have anything planned for this week in terms of creativity?
I'm just going to do some eye care. I need to be intentional with making sure that this gets healed up the right way. So resting, sleeping, resting my eye, recharging my body. I've got a couple friends that I'm going to see over the weekend. The eclipse is happening on Monday, so...
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
I'm
cool.
feeling a lot of stuff coming up for that and navigating a lot of that, so I'll probably do some journaling and some intentional yoga and some intentional like grounding practices because there's a lot of energy moving. Yeah, that's it though. It'll be a really nice weekend. Chill.
Cool.
How about you?
Nice.
What's going on?
I got some soccer this weekend, but in terms of creativity, I am planning to go do my first like adventure story film, which I'm really excited to make.
There we go.
Probably early next week. I'm gonna go sleep on a uninhabited island off the coast of Connecticut, and make an adventure film about that. So that should be really fun. So
we're super pumped.
Maybe next week we'll speak about that on the podcast.
That's
how that went.
Wait, you're doing that this weekend?
Probably like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on the weather.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that'll be fun. Yeah.
All right, sweet.
Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Cheers, y'all. Stay safe.